Hey guys, it's Jan, Not a Real Farm. So we had frost last night and I'll show you what the outdoor garden looks like. But inside, the garden is still going strong. We still have a lot of tomatoes that I'm able to harvest. Now, are they chilly? Yes. The temperature on the vegetables are chilly this morning. They've got a little bit of dew on them. As you can see, so we're getting into that season. And I'll be able to grow in this greenhouse most likely until the beginning of November, especially this year with the warmer temperatures that we've been able to luckily have. However, once that's it, that's it. So what I wanted to do was show you some of our awesome tomatoes that are still growing. So these are my mortgage lifters. Aren't those amazing? So these are a beefsteak tomato. We're going to take them off now because they're absolutely ready to go. Actually, one of my girlfriends said these are some of the brightest red tomatoes she's ever seen. Check that out. So we got a little bit of the shoulder split because of the temperature difference, but these are still pretty big and beautiful. Now, if it would only lift the mortgage, that would be great. If you've ever read the history on mortgage lifters, it does say how it got its name. So amazing, really happy with those tomatoes. So I'll be growing those again next year. And now let's take a look around the rest of the greenhouse. So these ones next to the mortgage lifters are an Aztec pygmy tomato. So they're a beautiful bright yellow tomato. Once again, they're a dwarf tomato, so they really only grow on vines that get about that tall, so about a foot. And we've been sort of picking off these all summer. They ended up being a really great snacking tomato, so I'm going to be saving some of the seeds on these ones. And really, they get the same size as a cherry tomato. All right, let's take a look at some of the other things. All right, so we're going to start from the back of the greenhouse today, I think. So here are my notapino peppers. Notapinos are a jalapeno that have no heat. So you get that average size jalapeno. But if you're somebody that doesn't like the burn, and that happens in my household, then I can use the notapino to basically still make all the great recipes. Save the jalapenos for me and give the notapinos to the non-heat people, which is actually a joke in our household now. Look at the size of these. So they're called a notapino. We've put a limited supply up on the store because I only grew so many of these this year. But if you are somebody that does like the taste of the jalapenos, but can't handle the heat in the kitchen, these are definitely for you. We still have our witch sticks. So these are our cayenne peppers, and they're still growing. We've harvested actually quite a bit of these, and some of them have actually doubled in size since the last time that we picked any. So these are really great because what I like about them is you don't actually have to take the seeds out of these. You can just string them up, put them somewhere like a window or somewhere where they can dry, and they dry down almost like very crispy, and you can break them apart in your soup if you really like the heat. So really awesome, really dry content in the pepper. There's hardly any water. So save the seeds, ground them down into a powder. They work. Moving on through, we actually have our huckleberries ready. So if I can just pick this up without making anything spill. Our huckleberries are now dull. When the huckleberries are new, not only are they green, but they're really shiny. They're ready when they have kind of a dull shine to them. So we have quite a few huckleberries here that we can make huckleberry jam out of. So that's going to be our goal by this weekend, is to pick all of these huckleberries. And huckleberries don't actually, I had somebody ask if they could pick the huckleberries just off of the vines here and eat them. And I thought, well, huckleberries don't actually have any taste to them until you cook them into a jam or in a pie. So it's not going to taste like a nice fresh blueberry or anything like that. As a matter of fact, they're pretty bland. But it's the cooking process that brings out that nice sweetness that we like. So we'll be taking advantage of that. These actually are volunteer huckleberries, so they came back on their own this year. And as a matter of fact, The branches over there are almost 5 feet tall. So it looks like we'll have an abundance of huckleberry jam. I just wanted to move in here and show you this before I start picking anything else. These 2 little red berries in here are actually asparagus berries. So when you get really far, 3, maybe 4 years into your asparagus, an heirloom variety will send you up seed. They'll start growing, they just look like little red berries like this that grow off of the asparagus. Now, if you actually pick these will be full of seeds from your heirloom asparagus. So you can actually start now a basically disease-free asparagus. Now, of course, it'll take a little bit longer than if you started with roots, but what a cool thing to just basically take the seeds out of this and start your own asparagus patch from seed. All right, let's pick some of our black paste tomatoes. So here they are. If you pop this off, you can see that they have that nice dark shoulder, and they get a fairly decent size as well. I've got quite a few in here. And I've been picking these actually quite frequently, so there might not be as many as what we would have normally had. Just actually have to reach the cattle panel. So they generally are about this big, but I love, if you leave them on the vine, they get really, really dark. And that's amazing. Super healthy for you. And right along next to those, our Queen of the Nights are holding strong, although getting smaller because of the weather change. So here's our Queen of the Nights. The coloring is awesome. They still have that nice black shoulders. And some of them actually got to be a fair size when we were picking them originally, starting in the beginning, but now we've got those cold temps at night, so things will start to slow down. And then we have our fish peppers. These are hot. So remember, they start off with that nice green and white striping, and then they turn into these beautiful red, this will be at their hottest, little peppers. And I only planted 4 plants. But you can see how much you get from them. So these normally will load up on little red peppers. If you are the kind of person that likes to save the seed, I would suggest making sure you wash your hands after you save the seed, because these have a nice little kick and you definitely don't want that in your eye. Here are our mini red bells. So these are just happily growing in the corner. So they don't really get any bigger than a little snack pepper. These are a sweet bell pepper. I could have really put these outside and they would have did amazing. So they don't get any bigger than this, and these are ready to go. So we'll be saving the seeds from these guys as well. Let's bring you over to some cool tomatoes. So these are a purple rain tomato. So now that the heat has gone, and it's cooler, now we have a color change. So we got the purple on one side and yellow on the other. Aren't those awesome? All right, let's take these off. They're actually a decent sized cherry tomato as well, but really beautiful to look at and sort of mildly sweet as well. So not overly sweet like a lot of the other cherry tomatoes, but really, really good. We've got some hidden tomatoes in here. See the size difference on the tomatoes once the heat really ramps down. They're all still good though. My basket's actually getting filled up here. Got one back here. Our goal today is not really to seed save a few, but really just clean up what's left in the garden and get ready to process some salsa and just only save really what we want, because we really did a lot of seed saving this year. So the pepper plants on this side, the healthy peppers, are pretty much done. So today we'll be pulling those out and basically leaving them out for the deer, and whatever the deer don't eat, we'll just compost. The kidney beans are still amazing. So they're pretty much dry. So these are our blue kidney beans. I don't know if you saw this in the last video, some of you, because some of you are new, but we actually have blue kidney beans. Let me see if I can take them out and get into a better light. There we go. If I kind of get into the sun a little bit, you can sort of see what color they are. So these are our blue kidney beans, and I have so many of these. We're going to be putting them up in the store. If you're interested in just growing different varieties of beans to make your dishes look interesting in the winter like I am, we will definitely be adding blue kidney beans to our seed store on Etsy. Awesome. But they did take a long time to grow, probably 90, 95 days. They need a long grow season. If you can see up into my shade cloth, that's all blue kidney beans, straight across. It's amazing. And then now what's happening is they're all now starting to dry. So this is going to be a little bit tricky to show you, but I'm determined so that you can see what growing your own sesame is like. So the leaves have all died down on the sesame. And yes, the pods are still green. But the best part about sesame is once it starts bending or snapping, just at the end of the plant, you can actually cut that there and hang up the sesame. And the pods will give you an indication they're ready because they crack open. So these are the first two sesame pods I have that have cracked open. And I'm going to break them off just so you guys can see what sesame looks like, hopefully without spilling the seeds. Now you don't want to harvest them too early. See how green that pod is still? You want to let it go a little bit more brown, but I'm opening this up so I can show you what these look like. And I got to get into better light for sure. There we go. See the sesame seeds there? And inside the pod, let me turn around. You have little rows of sesame in there. So you'll have one row on the bottom and sometimes even two rows at the top on the left side. So you have one, it looks like on the left, a little tunnel, and then in the middle, there's a little tunnel, and then you'll have another little tunnel of seed on the right. So when you crack this open, you can get probably about 100 seeds per pod. So it makes it really easy to harvest your own sesame. So this is a brown sesame that we grew this year. We do have a black sesame that we will be growing out again next year, but we're going to put some sesame seeds up in the store. So if you're interested in growing your own sesame, you'll be able to do that. Needs at least 85, 90 days. And that is to get the formation of the seed and a little bit of dry down in the pods. And if we swing back around to the blackberries, flowering at this time of the year in this climate is almost unheard of. So my blackberries are trying to set up to make new fruit at the beginning of October. That's amazing. Thanks so much for joining me today, guys. If you have any questions, please pop them below. Thanks for joining us again. See you soon.